Oh, it's the one that was going for the paddles.
Yeah.
Yes! Hi, I'm Nadia.
Hi, I'm Aaleia.
Hi, I'm Nameera.
And this is Operation Tomatometer.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Operation Tomatometer, the Classics official film review podcast. Here on Operation Tomatometer, we share our commentary on the latest movies, TV shows, and more.
But before we get into this week's episode, I just want to remind you to stop, drop, and rate the podcast on Apple Podcasts and give us 5 stars. So now, let's get into it.
So, if you aren't dead on the Nile, then you know about the newest murder mystery film, Death on the Nile.
That was a pretty good one, okay. Based on the Agatha Christie novel, Death on the Nile, published in 1937, and the 1978 film, Death on the Nile, this 2022 remake, which is also the sequel of the 2017 film Murder on the Orient Express, follows the story of Hercule Poirot, a Belgian detective who finds himself invited to the destination honeymoon of Mr. and Mrs. Doyle in Egypt. However, the once glamorous trip goes awry when a simple vacation becomes an intense search for a resentful murderer.
Now let's get into our favorite segment, Rotten or Not, and let's see what the tomato heads back at Rotten Tomatoes think of this film. I think for the critic score, I would give it an 88 because, not to get into what the first did and this one, because it is technically a sequel, but the first one I know did get good reception, and I watched it back in 2015, so that was like 7 years ago. But from what I remember, and after watching this film, Death on the Nile, I did enjoy it more than the first. So maybe. Hopefully the critics agree with me. So maybe it's like around the 90 area, I would assume.
Oh, I'm gonna have to disagree with you there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go lower. I think that the critics would have rated it around a 70 or 72.
Okay.
I think that there was a lot of really strong cinematography work in this movie, which I really, really enjoyed. I feel like everything was paced perfectly, and that was just my favorite part. But my issue was with the plot. At some parts it was very I guessed who the killer was at the very end, and I was like, oh, there we go. And that type of thing, for a murder mystery, I was like, kind of want a little bit more, you know? So the plot was a bit lacking for me.
That's very interesting, Nameera.
Well, this is based on the Agatha Christie novel, so I wouldn't judge it so much on the plot, and I think if you're reading it, it's definitely a little different than if you're watching it. And also they're assuming that a lot of people watching it have already read the book, or at least have seen the 1978 film. But when I finished watching it, I was originally thinking that the critic score was really low, because coming out of watching it,
Really?
I just had this feeling that critics weren't going to like it that much. They were going to think that it was tacky or something. So I was originally going to say a 50. But now that you guys have said your scores, I'm going to say 60, 65, 60. Let's go 60. I think that it's going to be really low, because there's just so many things that they could have done better. There's always something that they could have done better, but
that's true.
It just maybe didn't live up to any expectations. Did anyone have any expectations? Because this movie has been in the works for years, and it was delayed by COVID.
I mean, I had expectations. I watched the Murder on the Orient Express. I was really excited to see it come out in 2015, and then I was kind of disappointed when it came out. It might have been that I was 11 years old, and I was really confused. But watching this one, I did really enjoy it, and it kind of beat those expectations, because I thought it'd be really confusing again. But that just maybe my younger mind. But I did I understood it, guys.
As soon as you said that, I thought of the Lucas Graham song. It sounds. Sorry, that's so off topic. But no, I agree. But I actually came in not seeing the Murder on the Orient Express. Yeah. And I went to go watch it with someone who had seen it. But we both kind of came to the conclusion that this is kind of a separate movie from that.
Yeah, it is.
So we were looking at it in that type of lens. I think that, again, personally, I had a problem with the plot, because I feel even if it was based on, the novel, there's, a whole new audience it's coming to. It's coming to people in 2022 now, right? So, viewing it as, a sole independent movie, it wasn't groundbreaking, it wasn't earth-shattering. But, all of that came into play, and then when I came out of the movie theater, I was just okay, it was a very good watch. Would I watch it again? No.
I agree with Nadia that it was really good, and even though when I came out of the theater I was thinking that the critics gave it a low score, personally I was thinking to everyone I went to go see it with, you're welcome that I told you to go see this great film because I really liked it.
I did.
And even though maybe it wasn't like the murder mystery that everyone was expecting, maybe it was like very old-fashioned, it was still very incredibly well done. So I would disagree if the critics do give it a 60, but that's my guess. So now, will our lovely producer give us the critic score?
I'm very excited. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
64. No.
64. Wow.
64. I'm out of here. It's been a great show, guys. I'm leaving.
I am very sad to be correct.
Oh my god. I am just sad to be incorrect. I want it to be close. Just kidding. No, but yeah, I am also sad it's that low because I did enjoy it.
I really like the styles that are used in both of the
Yeah.
films, even though I saw that a while ago. Even in the trailers for Murder on the Orient Express, like those really good shots just like moving down the corridors of the train.
Yes.
And they use that in Death on the Nile, and it's a really good tactic for storytelling. And I like how they make use of all of that and everything that they did, like with lighting, and it was just...
Yes.
It was really well done. So I'm going to say audience score is around 85 because I think the audience would have been able to appreciate it, maybe beyond the plot and everything that it was lacking, that the critics apparently didn't appreciate. What do you guys think?
I mean, I'm a little insecure now. Kind of want to go a little lower, but I...
Don't.
So I gave the audience a 92. Because I do think in some regard, I think it would be higher than the critic score.
Oh, and personally, I agree with Aalea's point. I also gave it an 85, and I was also tempted to go into the 90s, but I think that the strong point for me here was just the cinematography, because I want to get into that.
Yes.
The cinematography and also the costume design. When I was looking at this movie, I was like, wow, that was just so like effortlessly done. And I was watching some interviews later on. They wanted to like modernize it a little bit. I think they achieved that really well while still keeping true to the time period.
So now we have our producer show us the audience score, please.
Okay,
all right.
Okay, close.
83.
Nice. Wow,
I'm
you guys
not angry
on a
about
roll.
that. I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
a little lower than I expected.
2 points
Same.
lower than what you expected.
I got 85 here, so I'm gonna stick with 85.
Yeah. So it's in that realm where it's not one of the best films we've ever seen,
Yeah.
but it's definitely a good film.
Oh my god, at the beginning of the movie when I went to go see it, I actually thought I went to the wrong theater.
Me too.
Because I genuinely thought that I walked into the wrong movie. I thought there was some historical film being shown about a war, and I was like, what's going on? And it was like a blue gradient or some type of blue filter going on. So I was like, I really thought, and then I went outside the theater, and I was like, this is Theater 5. So I went outside, I was like, I'm not really sure if this is the right thing. Then I have to go bring all my stuff back in. So that's just a me thing, but I thought that was interesting having that at the very beginning to show Poirot's origins, and like it kind of served to show like him being a farmer, but then he was like given more credit, and he was like a little bit more smarter than just being a farmer, and then also showing his love interest. But I really thought it was a wrong movie for a second.
Oh yeah, that's hilarious. I'm just imagining Nameera walking out and being like, oh, never mind. But about the beginning part, I did enjoy that because I mean, obviously in Murder on the Orient Express there wasn't that backstory, so now to have that in this film and explain why Poirot like has his mustache, his iconic mustache, I found it enriching. What is the word? Enriched the story. You see, guys, words. So yeah, I did enjoy that, and it was a important like foundation because you can see like the theme of this movie was love with like the murder couple, Simon and Jacqueline, and then with Poirot and his lover, and then just it was all centered around love.
And later on, when Book is about to die, the last thing that he says is, "You could never understand what people will do for love," and that was the theme that, as Nadia said, and that, as well as the end reveal of everything, made me think of Scream.
That is true.
Yeah.
That's exactly what
Yeah, it's
happened
literally a
in
pair.
Scream.
That-
It was the lover, first of all. He said in Scream, it's always the lover, and the best friend,
Yeah.
and they're secretly together.
Poor Lynette, honestly. I mean, at the beginning, I was like, poor Jacqueline. Like, that's sick that, like, her best friend did her like that. But anyways, really poor Lynette.
That was an interesting choreo scene, because that was like steamy. Like that was getting. I was like, this is.
It was getting steamy.
I was like, what's going on?
I was next to my mom. I was like, I feel awkward right now.
I was like, I don't know what movie this is now.
But what was I gonna say about your Scream similarity? I agree with you. I think it's cheating actually when it's two murderers. Okay, how am I supposed to guess two? That's not fair. So I didn't guess that. I was actually like genuinely surprised that it was both of them, because no critical thinking skills are happening up here.
I was so surprised when Book died.
Oh please!
Yeah.
I was so sad. Because he was also in the first one.
Yeah.
And so, like, we have this emotional... Yeah, you could see he was so genuinely... Like, Poirot was so genuinely distraught about it. And that, like, broke my heart. Like, that was, like... Because, he had lost his lover so long ago. But, like, he had a love for Book. Like, he was like a family to him. Like, they were really close. So I was really upset about that. So actually, no, I understand why the critics gave it so low.
Yeah.
Book's death. Doc 40 points. But onto another point.
Cinematography.
You read my mind.
Yes. You wanna go?
I was just gonna say first. Aaleia mentioned it earlier. The lighting was really. I liked it a lot because, as I said earlier, like the old-timey feel of it. There was like some silver tone, especially like when Lynette first makes her appearance. Like first her costuming, and then she walks down the stairs, and it seemed very like. Just the lighting on her face was all very silver, and it kind of just gave me like a very old Hollywood-esque feel.
That's exactly what I was thinking right now. I was about to say, I was like, let her speak.
But you go. What were your thoughts when you saw that?
No, she was looking like an old Hollywood actress, and that's even the hairstyle. And she was like, I liked that. I think it complimented her really well.
Yeah.
I also think that like Jacqueline's character was giving kind of like Marilyn Monroe, but like crazy,
crazy redhead,
right. And I was like, this is all like so interesting to see. I love the costume design. Like Paco Delgado doing so well in this movie.
Clap it up. That was so good.
I noticed a lot of highlights too with the light. The lighting itself was very bright. Even after Lynette's death that morning, I noticed that usually when there's a death in a murder mystery, the lighting gets very dark. But in this, it was so bright. And we also noticed the rest of the film, besides that part, had a very golden tone to it, and there were a lot of highlights. And I don't know, I'm sure that under the stage lights the actors were actually sweating, but like everyone had like a sheen to them, and I think there was like so much makeup that they were wearing that there was just like highlighter all over their face. And everything was just beautiful, like on the water, all those shots really showed, even though it was CGI, and I think that's one of the things that critics didn't like, was all the CGI pyramids and everything. Because they all filmed this all in England, I think. They were supposed to film in Morocco, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, it didn't look real, but it didn't look real, but to a certain extent, it wasn't, like, terrible fake. Like, I wasn't, like, appalled and, like, disgusted. I was like, oh, this is so fake. It was kind of like, again, I feel like it kind of adds to the charm of, like, old films. Like, old films, obviously, like, they didn't have the budget, or, like, sometimes they didn't have the production to, like, go to all these places.
Yeah, but I think that even so, like, it's a really impressive feat, because they did actually reconstruct, like, Abu Simbel, like, that area. They reconstructed it in, like, 100-foot length or something a little bit above that. And I thought that was insane. But I feel like it also allows, our director and main actor, Kenneth Branagh, I think that's a really awesome. Interesting, like, thing to do, like, acting and directing. Like, he had full control of it, right? And that's where we were able to see, like, such, like, a cool usage of, like, sunsets and, like, water, and just like I like the shots of like the boat, especially on like the outside and like the bow of the boat. There's like this. Yeah, and there was like this one shot when they were coming into like Abu Simbel, and like everyone was at the bow of the boat, like just sitting there. I love that shot. That shot was like really, really great.
Yeah, and I just, like you said about the boat, I love those like boat shots where it's like tracking one person and it goes down.
Exactly.
Those are always very like, I just love watching those. I could watch those for hours.
Another little factoid. That necklace with the yellow stone is the Tiffany yellow diamond necklace that has only been worn, I think, by like 4 women that we know of. I know because I love Audrey Hepburn, and so that was the necklace that she wore for the promotion of Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Really?
It was worn by Lady Gaga and by Beyonce, and then I don't think that it was actually used for the movie. I think they used a replica because it's just there's so much security around it.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting that they used Tiffany's as for all the jewelry, I think, for everything. Everything was Tiffany's.
And also going back to cinematography really quickly, this movie had a lot of back shots, which I thought were like I just thought it was really pleasing to see, especially like with Kenneth Branagh's character in the pyramid. That was also really nice. It reminded me very much of like Wes Anderson and that symmetry.
Yeah.
And like I was like that's something that's always happening in this film. It's kind of like a motif. Like he really likes the symmetry.
Yeah, especially with his character, like when they did like the overhead shots of like his tray and everything was like perfectly placed, and like so it was like specifically for him to show like his order and his neatness.
It's kind of cool seeing another director do that, though.
Yeah.
You know, it's very Wes Anderson-esque, but there's definitely like
his
a twist
own
here.
spin on it. Yeah, and going back to what you're saying about like from behind. There was a shot with Book and Poirot, and they were like talking, and they were out on the deck, and then they sat on these like wicker chairs, and he was like confessing his love for Rosalie, and I thought it was very interesting because it was like the camera was like showing their faces through the wicker chair, so like it looked like a confessional.
Yeah.
It looked like a confessional, and I was just like, I see what you did there. I see what you did there, and I like it. So overall, we love cinematography. Good job.
So to wrap up, I guess that we all really enjoyed the film, even if the critics didn't seem to as much. It was really well done. We can all agree that they did take that lightness that Agatha Christie had in all of her novels, and they infused it with the richness of modern cinema. Does anyone else have anything to add, or is that a wrap for today's episode?
I think that's a wrap. And a quick reminder to rate Operation Tomatometer on Apple Podcasts and to check out the Classics Instagram and TikTok page at THHS Classic to see our bloopers, behind the scenes, and other cool projects we're working on.
So thanks for listening. See you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.